Good Saturday morning, and welcome to Today in Putnam County, hosted by County Mayor Randy Porter, the show that takes a look at the events and what's happening all around Putnam County, as well as interviews with local community and business leaders. And now, sharing his insights and experience, here's Today in Putnam County host, County Mayor Randy Porter.
Thanks, Philip Gibbons, and thank you for joining us today. Hope you're having a great weekend. This week is our 9/11 Memorial Show, where we remember the terrific tragedy, that loss of life our country suffered on September 11th of 2001. We also have some very special guests on today's show that you won't want to miss. You know, almost 3,000 people lost their life that day by the hands of terrorists, with 400 of those being police officers, firefighters, and paramedics. On 8:46 a.m. that morning, the first plane, Flight 11, hits the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And then immediately following that, Flight 175 crashes into the South Tower, Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon, and then Flight 93 crashes into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where, thanks to all those passengers, they stormed the cockpit and prevented a lot of more loss of life. You know, there was $55 billion lost in just those three buildings in the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon, $95 billion lost in New York with its loss of jobs, taxes, cleanup, and so forth. But most importantly, almost 3,000 lives were lost. Where were you when the attack happened? Most of us will never forget. As we remember all those lost lives today, I want to do something special with our show. I want to talk about the patriotism and willingness to serve so many of our men and women in our military exemplify every day. I have picked out a great example of that with Putnam County Army veteran, Mr. Ed McCoin. Ed, a Tennessee Tech graduate and ROTC member, served in the Vietnam War in 1970 and 71. And after watching the horrific destruction of 9/11, Lieutenant McCoin felt the calling to serve again. After many attempts to re-enlist, Ed was unsuccessful in returning to combat due to his age at that time. After those experiences, Ed penned a poem that tells his story. Not considering himself a poet, Lieutenant McCoin was reluctant to show it to anyone. One day, Ed showed the poem to a local businessman, Mr. Rick Jones, who's a good friend of mine here at Jones Antiques on the Square. Rick, having connections in the music industry, encouraged Ed to do more with the poem, to make it into a song. With the help of Mr. Bill Russell and Chet Roberts, they put the project together, and a few months later came the ballad, An Old Lieutenant, which we're going to play for you on today's show in our second half. Joining us now is my special guest, Army veteran, Lieutenant Ed McCoin. First of all, Mr. McCoin, I want to thank you for your service to our country and your willingness to serve. Tell us about your experience after 9/11 and trying to go back and serve again.
Thank you. My experiences were very frustrating, and I attempted in four different ways to find a position for myself, knowing that I was older than normal candidates. But it really felt like I wanted to do something and set an example of patriotism for my grandchildren.
You did a good job, Mr. McCoin, and I know that had to be tough as we all watched the tragedy of 9/11 and wanting to do something. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. You served in Vietnam. You served your country for those couple of years, and I'm sure saw things that most people would never dream about seeing. But that feeling to want to serve again, but not being able to, is that what put it in your mind to write the poem that wound up being the song?
Actually, the poem just came out of nowhere to me. I don't think in terms of poetry and things of that nature.
So, Ed, did the poem just come to you? You said it just came easy, just almost like a gift from God, would you say?
Well, that's the way I saw it. Because I was really working on a spreadsheet for that particular day, and a verse came to mind, and I looked at it, such interesting, I wrote it down, and I continued trying to think about the spreadsheet.
I think he was trying to work out his frustration of not being accepted. He was trying to work that out, and just a lot of us, will sit down and just write something out, trying to get it out of our system. And I think that's kind of how this started. Ed just sat down and started pouring himself out onto a piece of paper and how he felt about it.
So, Rick, you've known Ed for a long time. And
oh yeah.
When you read the poem the first time, what'd you think?
It was impressive because Ed had touched on it so well with his feelings, and we were up in Ed's office, and it happened to be laying there, and he mentioned it, and I said, "Do you care if I read it?" And he said, "No, go ahead and take a look at it." And when I read through it, I said, "Ed, there's a song, there's a real story in this. And I'm a storyteller as a writer, and I said, there's a good story in this, and this needs to be condensed to where we can get it, into a song." Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how the thing started. And then we had the help of a lot of other guys that really helped us pull all this together.
Put it all together.
Yeah.
Mr. McCoin, you served as a lieutenant in the Vietnam War, and I know that was a terrible time. And folks, you're listening to Today in Putnam County. We're doing our 9/11 Memorial Show, and we're talking to Army veteran Lieutenant Ed McCoin, who wrote a poem that wound up turned into being a song, An Old Lieutenant, with the help of some folks, Bill Russell and Chet Roberts, that we're going to talk about today. And the song actually won an award that we're going to talk about and let you listen to the song coming up. But we're talking to Ed right now about writing the song. And Ed, did you ever dream that it would that poem would turn into a song?
No, I never dreamed that anything I'd write would ever turn into a song. So writing these verses down that just came into my mind, and then they rhymed. Well, that's a positive, I guess.
That is a positive when you're writing poetry.
And so wrote down the lyrics, and I did take Rick's advice and worked on making it a song.
You did a great job. I have to say, I listened to the song when Rick brought it to me about doing the show about it. I was amazed when I listened to the song, and Bill Russell and Chet, they did a great job with it. But it started with you and your service to our country, and I think about you serving in Vietnam and then turning around and then wanting to serve again.
Yeah.
Even after 9/11. I mean, that speaks highly of your upbringing and your willingness to serve our country and your patriotism. And I want to say thank you for doing that. And we're going to interview Bill and Chad and play the song for our viewers coming up here shortly. So I want to say thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for writing that song, and thank you for serving our country like you did, Mr. Ed.
Amen.
I appreciate that.
We appreciate you, and we thank you for being on today, and thank you for your service, and we hope you get to feeling better soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Rick.
You're listening today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Coming up, we're going to play for you Lieutenant McCoin's song, An Old Lieutenant, and talk with the musicians Bill Russell and Chet Roberts that won a big award for the song. Stay with us. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Beautiful jewelry comes in all colors and styles, and Lisa Janae is your premier exclusive Brighton dealer in Cookeville. Lots of Brighton inventory to choose from: necklaces, earrings, watches, bracelets, sunglasses, and even handbags. Plus inventory arriving weekly. Take advantage of your own local premier Brighton dealer right here in Cookeville. For every occasion, for every style, we have something bright for you at Lisa Janae. 420 South Low in Cookeville. Just look for the pink sign.
And now, back to Today in Putnam County with your host, County Mayor Randy Porter, right here on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. This week is our 9/11 Memorial Show. While we remember those who lost or gave their life during the horrific tragedy that struck our country, we're celebrating the patriotism of those that have and are serving to protect our freedom and country. We just interviewed Mr. Lieutenant Ed McCoin earlier, and he wrote a song about his attempt to try to serve again after 9/11. And we're going to play that song for you right now. It's called An Old Lieutenant.
Silver bars amid his dusty gear. He's a little nervous. It's been many a year, but he's offered his service once more, for an enemy's brought mayhem to our door. Angry with those brazen attacks, he's fearless and he wants to fight back. But every recruiter that he tries reflects doubt back into his eyes. Just an old lieutenant who never lost his nerve. Just an old lieutenant who still wants to serve. He wants to help his country by taking part. He's angry and he has a broken heart. Their comments still ring in his ears. You're just too old. Brings a hurtful tear. The once young LT is limited by age. But what's learned by experience can't be taught from a page. Just an old lieutenant who never lost his nerve. Just an old lieutenant who still wants to serve. He wants to help his country by taking part. He's angry and he has an aching heart.
Great song by Lieutenant Ed McCoin there. He was trying to serve again after 9/11. He served in the Vietnam War in 70, 71 in that area and tried to enlist again, but because of his age couldn't, so he penned that poem, which our next guest helped turn it into a song. Our next guest is Mr. Chet Roberts. Chet, glad to have you with us today. You helped Mr. McCoin turn his poem into a song. Tell us a little bit about that.
Hey, Randy, thank you for having me, first of all. And, it was a pretty cool occasion there with, my dad and Ed McCoin have been long friends. And another friend of theirs, Mr. Bill Russell, who is the one that's singing the song. We've been doing music, and I think Ed was wanting to contribute with some words and stuff, wanting to get in on all the making music fun we had. He saw us having, so he was, just kind of said, hey, well, I got this poem. You think you guys could turn this into a song? And it was really pretty amazing moment because we didn't know of this story, and neither any of his friends, my dad and Bill, neither one of them knew that he had done this so many years ago, back in, around 9/11, 2001. And so it was a bit of a surprise. And we were like, well, of course, we'd make this into a song, So during the process, it needed some music. We had the lyrics, and we all kind of helped, tailor the lyrics a little bit just to make things you do in the studio to trim the fat here and make this flow a little better. So everybody kind of helped with the words a little bit. And I was just searching for a way to make the lyrics come across in a way that you felt the patriotism of what was going on and the sort of the seriousness of the situation as far as what had happened back then, the attack on our country, and then it just floored us all. So we were like capture the right music for that sentiment that he was trying to put across in those words. But
well, you did a great job with the song, and to take his poem and the heartfelt emotions that he had in that and turn it into the song. I was amazed when I listened to it at what a great job you did, and I know you're a songwriter by trade, but to turn that into it. And then I guess congratulations are in order here that y'all have won an award for the song.
I believe they put it in the Americana category. I think that's where it won. But yeah, we're just stoked that it's achieved that recognition from them, and of course also that it's getting the attention from you guys. We appreciate you guys promoting it and playing it and letting people hear it. I think it's an important song for people to hear. So,
absolutely, Chet. We appreciate you being on the show with us. We thank you for doing that for Mr. McCoin and helping him to put that into a song. And we look forward to playing it this weekend coming up on the show and hopefully on the other stations also.
Worthy of mentioning too is that Chet's dad, Alan Roberts, is the drummer in this song. I think he does a great job on the percussions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We appreciate everything you did, Chet. You have a good day. We thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Chet.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Bye.
You're listening to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Coming up next, we're going to interview Bill Russell, who recorded the song and is the voice behind the song that Lieutenant McCoin came up with, showing his patriotism after 9/11. Stay with us. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Beautiful jewelry comes in all colors and styles, and Lisa Janae is your premier exclusive Brighton dealer in Cookeville. Lots of Brighton inventory to choose from: necklaces, earrings, watches, bracelets, sunglasses, and even handbags. Plus inventory arriving weekly. Take advantage of your own local premier Brighton dealer right here in Cookeville. For every occasion, for every style, we have something bright for you at Lisa Janae. 420 South Low in Cookeville. Just look for the pink sign.
And now, back to Today in Putnam County with your host, County Mayor Randy Porter, right here on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Today's show is all about 9/11. It's our memorial show where we remember the terrific tragedy and loss of life our country suffered back on September 11th, 2001. We've also had some very special guests today. You've heard Mr. Ed McCoin, who wrote a song, and with the help of Mr. Chet Roberts. And our next guest, Mr. Bill Russell, they recorded the song, and you got to hear it earlier in the second segment. It's called An Old Lieutenant. And my next guest is the person that you heard singing the song. That's Mr. Bill Russell. Bill, thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having me. Please just call me Bill. The Mister makes me nervous.
Just trying to show respect, but I understand. I know when people do me that way. I say it's just Randy. So we've got Congratulations for being mayor of such a wonderful community as Cookeville, Tennessee. I mean, it's beautiful. The geography, the people, the way it's laid out, it's modern, it's quaint, it's progressive. It's just a great place to be. And I have been around a little bit, traveled a lot of communities, but there are very few that equal the majesty in a way of Cookeville, Tennessee. And I'm not saying every day's Christmas and every meal's a banquet in Cookeville. Everybody's got problems, but it's still, as we celebrate the nation dealing with 9/11, it's still time to look around and say we've got a lot to be grateful for, don't we? Absolutely. We're blessed, Bill, and I appreciate the nice comments there. And we live in a great community. And let's talk about Ed McCoin's song, An Old Lieutenant. And we talked to Chet Roberts earlier about taking his poem and turning it into a song, and then you recorded the song. Tell us a little bit about that and how that went. Well, we were recording another song that day, and we had worked on that one, Sandy Toes and Salty Kisses, I believe. But anyway, we were working on that, and we had encouraged Ed to bring his poem there. And we thought we'll have a chance to maybe work on this and turn this into something. And he did. He showed up for the recording session. I don't know that he expected it to go down like it did, but we got his words out on his poem, and Chet was there. And we did a little bit of rearranging, and then we were looking for a musical component that would complement the passion of the words, the eloquence of the words. And Chet, who's just a musical genius and a musical producer of great renown, I mean, he went over to the keyboard, and in about 3 minutes, he had come up with this almost overwhelming melody to it to go along with it. And boy, it wasn't 2 hours later we got into the recording studio, and Alan Roberts, Chet Roberts' dad, was there, who is the drummer on the song, and who's got a great ear for music and words too. He kind of helped us polish it up a little bit, and
it got done in a relatively short time. We were really pleased with how it turned out. Mainly for Ed, such a wonderful guy.
It's got that ballad song to it, and I don't know why, but when I heard it the first time, it just warmed my heart. But it made me reminisce about another song that was written many years ago that I loved. It was called "The Green Beret."
Ballad of the Green Beret.
Ballad of the Green Beret.
And Barry Sadler.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it brought back memories of that. My dad was in the Vietnam War, was a veteran from Vietnam, and so it brought back a lot of memories. But you did such a great job with it. Your voice almost has a bass feel to it. Is that your normal? Is that the normal? Am I hitting it right with the bass sound?
Yeah, it's kind of between a baritone and a bass. I mean, I'm certainly no J.D. Sumner. I can't go down and knock the bottom out of anything. But it kind of vacillates between baritone and bass, depending on the type of song. And I've just been very blessed to hang around a while in music and live long enough to be able to develop writing and singing a little bit, and part of it's hanging around other good musicians like Rick there, who's an excellent musician and songwriter. Talk about somebody that's a good one. Rick Jones is one of the best too.
I've got him as a neighbor. He's right across the street from me on the square at the courthouse, and he's been a good friend the last several years. And you're right, he is very good too. I'm hearing we talked about it a little bit earlier with Chet that y'all won an award for the song. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, we've been very blessed this year. There is an organization called the Indie Music Channel, which represents and encourages independent songwriters and independent recording artists. And they have an annual contest every year, and it's not just national. I mean, people send in songs from all around the world and material. And they had their annual awards program this past weekend, as a matter of fact. And the song, The Old Lieutenant, was submitted to be considered for nomination, and it was nominated in August, and they had their voting and judging done last week. And just yesterday, they announced that the Old Lieutenant got the award for Best Songwriter in the Alternative Music category. And that's, of course, Ed McCoin and Chet Roberts, who earned that distinction. And so, we were real pleased with that. Well, we were real pleased.
Congratulations. That is a great deal. And we're so proud of y'all and proud for Mr. Ed that wrote the song. And, talking earlier with him, his patriotism, Bill, is just unbelievable. And in serving in Vietnam, and then after 9/11, wanting to go and re-enlist and serve again, isn't that? I mean, that's American patriotism, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, without question. Ed and I were in the Army together for 2 years. That's where I met Ed. The first day I showed up at Fort Gordon, Georgia. The first person I met was Ed McCoin from Tennessee, and here I was from Arkansas. And it started a friendship that's lasted, good gosh, 50-plus years, I guess, around that much. But, yeah, we were together for 2 solid years. And when we got to Vietnam, he got a different assignment than I did, and his was much more dangerous than mine. He had to go out into the villages in Vietnam and try to help identify VC agents and VC forces and collect intelligence, on the ground intelligence. And so, I mean, he literally was in danger every day. He'd sleep at night in some of these villages and would always have a 45 under his pillow. And thank God he never got wounded or hurt seriously, but he had to live with a lot of anxiety and fear for that time. And I have boundless pride in him and appreciation for him for doing that, because that had to take a toll to do that. And so he was just that kind of guy. He just always wanted to do everything he could for his country. He's always been that way. And so when he told that story to us, to Alan and Rick, I'm sure Rick would say it wasn't really a surprise to know that he would want to do something like that.
No,
but I don't know if Rick knew, but Ed had never told me that before, that he had done that. I mean, he's also a humble guy about it.
Yes, he sure is.
I never knew about it until that song. Did you, Rick?
Yeah, I stumbled into it one day or one evening up in his office. There was some stuff. There was some papers there on his desk, and he had laid that out and said it would be okay for me to read that. When I read it, and I said, Ed, there's a song in this. Now, you're going to have to condense it. We got to get it down to 3 or 4 minutes somehow. But there's the whole story in that was fantastic, and it was just something that needed. Being a storyteller with my typewriting, it just spoke. Hey, let's turn this into a story, and you guys did a fantastic job of doing just that. Turned the story into a song.
You did, Bill, and I appreciate you. It was you did a great job on it, and we're running out of time. I wished I had more time to talk to you. I want to thank you and Rick and Chet Roberts and all the folks that was involved in this, of doing this. You did a great job, and we appreciate you being on the show. Folks, that's our show for today. I want to thank these guys for being on, especially Mr. Ed McCoin, who penned the song, and Bill Russell and Chet Roberts and the guys and Rick for helping him put it together. Hope you join us every Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon, all weekend for Today in Putnam County on all the Zimmer family of stations, including News Talk 107.7. As always, thanks to Brent Carl Fleshman for producing my show each week. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and may God continue to bless our great county.